Strange Days is a science fiction film directed by Kathryn Bigelow. It came out in 1995. It's also written by James Cameron and Jay Cox. Jay Cox is responsible for writing a few Martin Scorsese films, one of my favourite being Silence. And obviously James Cameron needs no introduction. So the pedigree on this film is pretty impressive. But how's the film? Well, pretty good as it happens, a lot better than I was expecting. I've tried to watch this film a couple of times throughout my life. One very early in the noughties, and then about 4 or 5 years ago as well I gave it another crack, and for whatever reason couldn't get into it. This time I was determined. I sat down, stuck it on and watched it, and actually, you know what, I liked it quite a lot. It's not a classic, deserving of the pedigree, I don't think. I think everyone involved in this film has made better, but you can definitely see all of their voices, or hear all of their voices within this work. This has Kathryn Bigelow all over it. This actually feels a little bit like a precursor to Detroit, her most recent film. It's very socially aware, it's very kind of racially charged, and it follows this story of this man who used to be a cop. He's got this new technology which basically records memories, and he deals in memories. So he buys memories and then he sells them on to other customers, but he doesn't deal in snuff. When a woman is murdered and that murder is caught on one of these memory chips, it basically sets off this whole investigation. He gets embroiled in this big investigation that deals with, one, the woman that has been murdered, but also this other guy who's been murdered, this rapper. He's this black rapper who is kind of at the height of his career. A lot of people are listening to him, and he's speaking a lot of stuff that is getting people kind of rioting in many ways. People have had enough. They've had enough of the brutality of the white police force. It's almost like Detroit meets RoboCop, and I think RoboCop was actually set in Detroit, if my memory serves me correctly. Anyway, suffice to say, it deals with a lot of things that Kathryn Bigelow seems to be very interested in. For the most part, I think it deals with them very well. You've got that sci-fi element, that fantasy element, and some of it has not dated particularly well, it must be said. It always boggles my brain that when they do futuristic films that are only set like literally a few years in the future. I mean, they do things that you can't even imagine being 30 years away, never mind 5 years away. I just don't get why they don't push the time in which it's going to be set further on. Also, the main character, Lenny Nero, played by Fiennes, I find to be a little bit weak, if I'm being perfectly honest. He's obsessed with this woman. He keeps playing these tapes back, and that's one of the main themes of the film, about how we can't live in the past, we have to live in the now. We can't be fueled by our memories of what's gone before. We can't live in those memories, because then we never go anywhere. We wouldn't advance any further, and that's the reason their memories are not constant. I like that. I like the exploration of that. It's just quite hard to like this character, and I think it's only because of the acting chops of Fiennes that I like him at all, to be honest. But like I say, as a lead, as a person we're following on this journey, he's a little bit weak, he's a little bit pathetic. Someone who isn't, however, is Angela Bassett's character. I love her in this film. She kicks ass, unbelievably so too. I've seen, I guess the most recent example was Mira Sorvino in The Replacement Killers. I didn't buy her at all. It's this like kind of kick-ass broad, and Angela Bassett here, yeah, I got no trouble believing that she is this badass. Michael Wincott is pretty much Michael Wincott. He plays that same role in everything that he does. If you've seen The Crow, his villain from The Crow, that just seems to be his persona, where he just takes that wherever he goes. Tom Sizemore, on the other hand, yeah, he's pretty good in this. I like him. He's one of those actors that around the 90s just seemed to be everywhere, before all the trouble. He's good in this, although I gotta say, you kind of see where his character arc is going a mile off. That's one thing that lets the film down considerably, I think, is that you kind of know who's doing what before we are told by the film. And yeah, like I say, it just drops it down a bit. Kathryn Bigelow's direction of this material, though, I've got to say, is really spot on. Some of the action scenes in this are incredible. Given the time, you know, we have this first person kind of perspective, because there's all these videos we see of people's memories, and it's done very well. You know, I think most recently Hardcore Henry did it as an entire film, took that concept and did it as an entire film. Well, yeah, Kathryn Bigelow kind of did it here first. One particular chase scene from this robbery, which is very well done, just from the perspective of the person who's running away, and he jumps across this building, fall down, and it's just, yeah, the whole way that it's shot is brilliantly directed by Bigelow. So this is a very solid film. I don't think it's the best thing that Bigelow's done, far from it. I can think of a handful of films she's done that are better. But if you're a fan of hers and you've never gotten around to seeing this, I can safely say it's worth it. You know, I don't think it's going to do anything to diminish your fandom of Bigelow as a director. I give it a 3.5 out of 5. So if you've seen Strange Days, I'd like to know what you thought about it. Comment below, let me know your thoughts, and until next time, crack in.